In the future, every major city will have a high-altitude blimp tethered to a cable with ground-penetrating radar that looks right through your walls and gives the government a black-and-white image.
We live in a post-9/11 world, security higher, we're a country at war. Not an ideal situation for anyone, but there are some that say if we have another terrorist attack on American soil, the U.S. will be under martial law. On the phone, we have with us the man you just saw in the video. That is Alex Jones, a man who has set forth to expose these supposed indiscretions by the government. We also have with us terrorism law expert Jeff Addicot with us. Thank you both for joining me this morning.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. Let's first talk with you, Alex, by phone. Alex, you feel America is going to be under some martial law pressure as soon as we get attacked again? Is that correct?
Well, back in '99, I met with your police chief, and we threw Delta Force out. They brought in large bags of cash and tried to buy them off. Then I talked to emergency managers around the country when I was fighting this then and found out there was a covert plan to take over all of our major cities. Now that's been in the Associated Press. The Homeland Security Committee in Congress, with the highest level security clearances, are not allowed to see the details of PDD 51 signed May 9th of this year that literally makes the president a dictator. And last year, the president funded the John Warner Defense Authorization Act for domestic oppression of the American people. It actually says that it is for domestic insurrection and rebellion. This has nothing to do with terror. This is the military-industrial complex waging war on the people.
Let's talk about that presidential directive number 51 that you're talking about. Mr. Addicot, he's talking about the one that basically gives the president some power to go in case of an emergency and establish some sort of order. Right. Is it as bad as Mr. Jones calls it?
I don't think so.
He's a lawyer for the people that were there in '99.
Presidential directives are nothing new. I mean, the Clinton administration had a continuity PDD itself, and this president has simply replaced that one with this one. It's interesting because a lot of the annexes to the document are classified, so I don't know how this gentleman has had access to those where he can tell us about what it says. But basically, if you read Section 9, Paragraph 9, it indicates that the executive branch has a responsibility for continuity, and the judicial branch has a responsibility, and also the legislative branch. So it's really not the boogeyman. This is nothing new, nothing to get upset about. It's actually the responsibility of the government to do this.
Well, Mr. Jones, you were just alluding to the cameras, and I think we heard a little bit at the top of the show about you talking about the blimps overhead. Do you really think we're going to get to that point? I have not seen any blimps in my neighborhood. I don't really fear my police force.
Let me break this down. That is a Pentagon announcement of 2004, and they do now have them over D.C., L.A., and other areas. And yes, they are mounting high-altitude blimps. These are so high you can't even see them without a telescope, or at night you can see them because of the atmosphere and the sun going over the edge of the
But I already have Google, I can actually Google my own home, you know, and check out my home.
Listen, you know, Mr. Addicot's not stupid. I looked into him, okay, and he knows what he's doing. We have the memos written by John Yoo and the Attorney General, Alberto Gonzalez, saying they can torture children with pliers, that the president says that with pliers. It says the president is above the law and that all law flows from him. And in PDD 51, he is saying he is in command of continuity of government. And then Congress was able to
obviously he is in command. That's what the executive does. All the administrative agencies are under the executive branch. I mean, all administrative agencies are under the executive branch, so why would that be surprising that he is issuing policy memos to agencies within his control? We would expect him to do that.
He will command the entire infrastructure.
That's not what it says.
But he's a president on his way out as well. There's going to be a change in presidency here come November.
Hillary.Planet.com or Infowars.com. You can see the body or the body of evidence, or go to Google and type in martial law, 9/11 rise, the police state, or terror storm. You can watch my films for free.
I have a better idea. You could go to Google and pull up PDD 51 and read it for yourself. And read paragraph 9, which talks about the responsibility of each branch of government and not an executive takeover.
Why don't you remember the 4 members of the Homeland Security Committee in Congress who have been able to see part of it and then want to see the classified areas because they're saying that it looks like it's a martial law plan. That's members of Congress, and Addicot, you're counting on folks not going and seeing what the AP and the Oregonians and others had to say about it.
Mr. Jones, does the mentality or what Mr. Jones is pushing here, does it incite maybe us, is it a fear-mongering thing, or does he have some validity to his points?
Well, obviously, in time of conflict, and we are definitely in a conflict with al-Qaeda. I mean, they want to kill tens of thousands of Americans if they can. That's a fact. And our government has a responsibility to protect its citizens. But I think Mr. Jones is correct, and that has to be balanced against civil liberties. And where you draw that line is something that we need debated. And I think voices like his are important, but we need to put them in context. I mean, you need to look at the facts, take a deep breath, and make up your own mind. But certainly, you know, this is America. You have the right to say what you want to say.
Mr. Addicot.
You have a right to your own opinion, but you don't have a right to your own facts. And I think that's the case you see here.
You know what? I can prove my facts. We have members of Congress who are concerned about this. We have Republican and Democratic, liberal and conservative top lawyers across the country saying this country's going into martial law. Bob Woodward last year was in San Antonio and said he thinks we're going into a dictatorship. That was in the front of the newspaper. I'm not the only one that's worried about this. By the way, the borders are still wide open, but the American people are being harassed and controlled. We have the federal documents. And by the way, Addicot, if you want to come debate me for an hour, I'll be on the radio on KLBJ today for 2 hours.
What are you doing?
We are talking with Alex Jones from Infowars.com about the changes here in America, and he believes we're changing into a police state. And also joining me is Dr. Jeff Addicot. He is our expert on terrorism law, and we thank you both for joining us. We're kind of continuing our conversation. Alex, you've got some films out there. You go to protests, and you complain we're gearing up for this police state because you say cops are swarming the streets with guns. These are huge protests like the one we just saw you in New York during the Republican National Convention. Of course, there's some increased police presence in New York after it being attacked, but do you honestly think that we're getting to a place in time where nobody's going to have any freedom to do what they actually want to do?
Yes, people are being arrested coast to coast for peacefully protesting or demonstrating. New York has banned independent news cameras on the streets. Some of my cameramen have now been arrested and told that they're terrorists for having video cameras all over the place. We have neocons. A top neocon in the Philadelphia News said we need another 9/11 so they can get their bigger police state out. That's been a big national controversy the last few days.
Alex, let's talk about that because, and Jeff, maybe you can
Sure.
add some to this. We haven't had another 9/11, and is it perhaps because of the fact that we've taken some of the precautions that Mr. Jones is talking about that he does not like?
Well, you got to look at it from the representative democracy. All three branches of our government have become very involved in this war on terror. Congress has taken a number of significant steps. The Military Commission Act is just the latest, probably one of the latest and the largest steps that they've taken. The president clearly believes that we're in a state of war. The Constitution gives him that authority as a commander-in-chief, and our Supreme Court generally has upheld the policies of the administration and of the Congress. So it's not, you know, it's not one branch that is engaged in a conspiracy. It's all three branches of the government believe that we're in a state of conflict. They have the obligation to protect the American people, and they're moving forward in a judicious manner. Have there been missteps? Yeah, I'm sure there have.
Whenever I brought up the fact that Congress has asked to see PDD 51 and the classified sections and has been told no.
Well, that's your word, and I don't have enough information to say whether your word is true or not. I don't really know you, and I haven't got, you know, I don't know.
Mr. Jones, I have to admit that I don't like the fact that they look through my liquids when I'm getting on a plane, and I think we've been at the state of, I think it's been on an orange alert since 9/11. I haven't really ever seen it green or otherwise. Are you thinking that this point that we're reaching is going to make America not America anymore?
Well, yeah, let me just... Yes, we're seeing the fall of the Republic, the death of the Republic. Right here in front of me, here's the Oregonian. White House denies Congressman's request to see continuity of government plans. That was July 23rd. Since then, the entire committee and the chairman, these are the guys that go into the bubble.
But I don't know if I want everybody knowing what we're doing behind the scenes anyway.
Executive, just like when somebody burned the Reichstag, Hitler had to not let the Reichstag know what was going on anymore. Mr. Addicot, I want to ask you a question because this is important.
Well, make it quick, Liz. We've got to wrap this up.
Okay, I will. Do you support the John Yoo and the Attorney General's memos that said that they could torture children with pliers?
Yeah, your rendition of that is totally fallacious, and obviously we need much more time to talk about the issue of torture. The United States government has never engaged in a policy of torture. There have been individuals in their individual capacity that have done so, but there's never been any such policy, and that's you know, that's fallacious.
In the memo.
It's fallacious.
I want to thank you, Mr. Jones, for joining us by phone.
PrisonPlanet.com is the website. We're losing our republic. We've got to fight these enemies that have taken over our military and our government. We've got to defend the republic.
We thank you for your time, Mr. Jones, and thank you, Jeff, for being here with us today. Okay, we're